Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Expect afternoon and evening showers with some heavy downpours likely. Our low tonight dips to just 76. High humidity this weekend and a 60% chance of showers both Saturday and Sunday. But cooler as the weekend goes on with a high of just 81 on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Brian Leonard with you on Point Local Weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Please press button now. No, number 1.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome in Friday edition of Sports Talk, heading into the weekend. We're so happy that you are with us tonight here on Sports Talk, South Carolina's most talked about, most followed, most listened to, and when I'm talking, most handsome sports talk show. If a sports talk show could have a face, this little pudding would be the most handsome thing on radio. Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel, those two might certainly disagree with me, but that's my humble opinion. Great show
especially
coming up for you tonight.
Yankees cap on.
Well, especially when I have my Yankees cap on. This is actually, for those who can see it, it's a Yankees-Red Sox rivalry cap since they are playing through the weekend.
Lord.
It's still, one of the great rivalries in baseball, unless, of course, Greg Sankey and the college people want to get involved with Major League Baseball and, screw it all up like they're doing college. And Yankees and the Red Sox maybe to the Pacific Coast League and one to the Sally League or something like that, just change it all up, which brings up the question of what's going to be happening moving forward with the college landscape here in the next little while. And I don't know that anything is going to be happening. The funny thing about all this, Chris, is there's been a lot of stuff out there by your typical national writers. I think a lot of spitballing to see what sticks. There's been only one guy who's gotten anything right, and that's the guy from the West Coast who broke the story of Southern Cal and UCLA moving to the Big Ten. That set off all the speculation of who's going to do this and who's going to do that, and meetings here and meetings here and there. And, of course, what happens in this case, the national writers having to live up to their reputations, and they have, big reputations to live up to and big bank accounts, and their editors want big stories. They all want to jump ahead of the story and kind of tell you this is going to happen or this is going to take place, when in fact, none of it has happened. Talk of ACC and Pac-12 forming an alliance with ESPN doing all kind of stuff. I mean, that's been debunked. Talk of Clemson and other schools moving to the Big Ten. That's been debunked. Talk of Clemson moving to the SEC with some other schools. I don't know that that's really on the table right now. Everybody's trying to get ahead of the story and instead of letting the story play its way out. Of course, it is summertime, and that's what you get with college athletics. So the only thing that we know for sure is the two schools from the Pac-12 will be moving to the Big Ten at the appropriate time. And previously, the two schools from the Big 12 are moving to the SEC. So I don't know that we've really determined anything about the future of college athletics from all the reporting and all the speculation that's taking place this week.
Well, I think part of the problem is too, Phil, you have so many sports outlets now on social media, on the internet, and certainly on radio and television. There's a lot of programming that has to be filled during the dog days of summer. I hate that term, but it's That's what people understand. Unless you're going to talk Major League Baseball 24/7, you've got to find something else to discuss. And conference expansion in college athletics is obviously a hot button issue that a lot of folks are interested in. Whether or not any of it is valid, it makes for interesting debate, doesn't it? I mean, you had guys like Jim Donnan, former Georgia head coach and also former ESPN analyst. He says he has heard that Miami, Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina, and I'm quoting him here, are going to be in the SEC pretty quick. Now, what does that mean? What is pretty quick in the modern day? I mean, is that 48 hours from now? Is that 4 weeks from now? Is that next year? Is that 5 years from now? I mean, what is pretty quick?
What does Jim Donnan know that the rest don't know? I mean, does he know that the ACC is going to allow those 4 schools out of their TV rights agreement? Are they just going to snap their fingers and poof, they're gone? Everybody's forgiven. Go have a nice life. Does he know that's going to happen? I mean, that's got to happen first, or those schools have to, they face some severe penalties, and also know that any money they get from their next move would go to the ACC and not to their new league and not to them.
Yeah, and you would think that would be cost prohibitive, wouldn't it? I mean, that's the excuse that UCLA has given to go into the Big 12, the Big 10, because they needed the money, or they were going to be in a situation where they'd have to cut some Olympic sports because they can't fund all, 25 varsity sports that they have. So you're right, just turning your back on a grants of rights agreement with the ACC and allowing any of the money that those 4 schools would get from the SEC to go to the ACC doesn't make a whole lot of common sense. But none of this has made any common sense, has it? At the last couple of years, especially the move of the 2 Los Angeles schools into the Big 10. Well, that to me sort of overshadows everything else in terms of common sense with regards to college athletics.
I get the whole thing about the LA market. I mean, that's just common sense. You want the LA market, the NFL. Why do you think the NFL always goes back to Los Angeles now with 2 teams? They want the LA market. But if you just look at the numbers, and we talked about this earlier this week, and this was reported by I think it's the San Jose Mercury News, the television ratings for Pac-12 using 4 million viewers as a start finish line, so to speak, as the cutoff point. This one school that attracted the most viewers over a period from 2018 through 2021, the school that played the most games that attracted 4 million plus viewers was Oregon.
Yeah.
And now Oregon just landed one of the top quarterbacks in the 2023 class. A guy they're saying is a generational, a guy they're saying is the most highly decorated, recruited quarterback ever to the Oregon program. And they've had some pretty good quarterbacks, right? So why are you treating Oregon like it's hamburger meat? Because Oregon, I think, does have national appeal. I do think people, because they're so flamboyant with their uniforms, they're Nike-backed, they have had good football success over the last 10, 15 years. Are they a bigger national brand than Southern Cal and UCLA? I dare say they're bigger than UCLA in football.
Well, that depends on whom you ask. I mean, if you ask those of us who are old enough to remember both of those teams being pretty good in football, we'd probably say no. But if you ask the modern college football fan and the younger college football fan, they don't know anything about SC being any good. They don't remember Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and those guys going through and winning 2 national championships in back-to-back fashion and could have potentially won a third if Vince Young not been in the way at Texas. And they certainly don't remember UCLA being any good in anything outside. And quite frankly, even basketball. What do you have to go back to 96? The last national championship they had in basketball?
Didn't they cheat on and off the field to win that one national championship? Didn't they cheat in that game against Notre Dame, if I remember correctly? Wasn't that the game where Leinart was pushed into the end zone?
Oh, yeah.
On a quarterback sneak? Yeah, of course, that was against the rules. Maybe it still is against the rules. Then, of course, come to learn that they were violating what were then rules. Today it would be, pat you on the back and here's the envelope. But they were violating rules back then. But anyway, it doesn't take away from the great tradition of Southern Cal football. And as you say, that relatively recent run under Carroll when he was the coach there, that made Southern Cal so appealing to watch. But I would not. I mean, Oregon would certainly be, I think, a program, especially with their new coaching staff, their new head coach. and they're recruiting very well. Also, they're going to be a very difficult team to deal with on the West Coast. But my point in all of this was to say that we've just I think had a bunch of hooey going on this week, except for the one guy who I'd never heard of, the one guy on the West Coast who broke the story about the two teams moving. Now, you did a little research, however, on the concept, on the idea of Clemson and others from the ACC moving to the SEC.
Well, let's just assume for a moment Jim Donnan is correct. And I didn't realize until I went back through Jim Donnan's career. Did you know he's from Lawrence? He's a South Carolinian. He grew up. He was
I
born
would
in
not
Lawrence.
have remembered that.
Yeah.
I would not have thought of that.
He's a South Carolinian. But let's just assume for a moment. Those four schools, North Carolina, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson, do come into the SEC. And you get 20 teams into the SEC, which I think ultimately we will get to. I just don't know how long it will take. And the Big Ten gets to 20 teams.
Mm-hmm.
I've come up with an idea that the SEC, and this will also work for the Big Ten, that they both need to utilize. And all I ask for is credit to my dog, because I'm going to call it the Finn plan, because it came up and sort of the epiphany hit me while I was walking my dog this morning. The Finn plan. And give some credit to Sports Talk here. But I think what you could easily do in both of these conferences, if we ever get to 20, is go with 4 or 5 team pods. Now, the fun part is going to be, all right, how do you navigate those pods? Who do you put in each division, so to speak? So I've tried to do some of that legwork, and I feel like you get a northern pod, a southern pod, a midwestern pod, and a western pod in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, bear with me here. In the northern pod, you would have Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Kentucky, and North Carolina. Now, you're going to have divisions and pods that, in terms of competitive balance, aren't as difficult as other pods. It's just the nature of the beast.
Mm-hmm.
The southern pod would include South Carolina, Clemson, Georgia, Florida, and Florida State. The Midwestern pod would have the 2 Alabama schools, the 2 Mississippi schools, and only because there's no other place to put them, Miami. And then your Western pod in the SEC, if they ever go to 20 teams, should be LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And what you could do with this, you'd roll back and you'd only play 11 games. You wouldn't play the 12. You'd have to convince the ADs to get on board with that. But I can make them money on the backside of this. Because what you would do, you would start the season Labor Day weekend as you normally do. You could build in a bye week. And you'd play 11 weeks, and that would give you an opportunity to play 2 non-conference games and then 9 conference games. You'd play 4 against your pod, the other 4 teams in your pod, and then you would play 5 against another pod that would rotate. Like, for instance, Carolina and Clemson would play the North pod one year, so they'd each see Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Kentucky, North Carolina, along with playing everybody else in their pod.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would take the 4 winners of the pods and you would put them in the SEC football tournament and seed them 1 through 4 based on their conference record. 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 in the semifinals on Thanksgiving weekend. You would have the championship game, when we always do, that first weekend in December. And then because the Big Ten is also doing exactly the same thing, you would have those 2 conference champions play one another January 1st for a national championship. And this would also eliminate, in the Finn plan, also would eliminate non-conference neutral site games or even conference neutral site games. For instance, Georgia and Florida would play either in Gainesville or Athens, not in Jacksonville. So you would return all these games back to college football fans and put them on campuses.
See, now you hate those games, and
I do.
We differ there because, I mean, you're talking about killing one of the great traditions. So I would disagree with you there. Thank you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, this runs.
Don't kill everything.
Eliminates
Don't
every
kill
tradition.
everything that we have
well,
come
you
to
still
love.
have your rivalry games. You may not be able to play them. You would try and play them as best you could. Maybe you could put all your rivalry games. That the issue you would have, because what I'd like to see is your 2 non-conference games would be your first 2 games of the year. And the final 9 games would be all conference games. So everybody's playing.
Wait. Time out.
Mm-hmm.
I get 3 of them. This is a 20. You want to play South Carolina Clemson at the front of the schedule?
No. That would be a conference game now.
Oh, that's
assuming
right.
that Clemson comes into the SEC.
That's right. My bad.
The problem you would run into is Georgia Tech, for instance, Kentucky, Louisville. those type games.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you would be able to try and keep as many of your rivalry games. Mississippi State would be able to play at the end of the year. Maybe you get Georgia, Florida to play at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You get Alabama and Tennessee on the rotating basis. Maybe they get to play at the end of the year, and you'd have South Carolina and Clemson play at the end of the year. I don't want to take all the traditions away, but I think we're coming to a situation where if we get to 20 teams in the Southeastern Conference, we are also going to have 20 teams in the Big Ten. Both of these leagues could use a similar format and formula to develop their own sort of conference tournament. You can't tell me if you had an SEC tournament of the 4 best teams, the 4 winners of the pods, that ESPN would not rake in the money that would make up for the lack of the one extra game of the season in terms of a 12-game schedule versus in my plan 11 games during the regular season.
You know what? I think that's a very workable plan.
Thank you.
I kind of like it. Pat, you on board with that? What do you think? Does it get the complete endorsement of the Sports Talk crew?
I think that gets the people going. I fully endorse it. Love the idea. Maybe after the break, I'll toss out an idea I had that I talked with some friends about last night, but it's on more of a joking manner than serious. But in terms of being serious, love what Chris just had to say.
Would you like Greg Sankey's number so you can give him a call and say, Greg,
No,
I want to present this at SEC Media Days in a couple of weeks. Give me the stage on like Tuesday morning instead of bringing your referee in there, your head ref, to tell us about the new rules and why offensive linemen can't go 4 yards downfield this year. Let me go up there and explain my new format for you.
I want to go right before Saban. I want to talk before Saban because I know everybody will be in the room. All I want, as I mentioned, when the SEC adopts this, and they'd be crazy not to, but when they do adopt it, I want to make sure that my dog in this show get credit for it. That's all I ask.
The Finn Sports Talk Media Network, SEC Big
Expansion Plan.
Big 10 or Big Expansion Plan. And, of course, so you're talking about 40 teams. So you're obviously cutting a bunch of teams to go form their own division somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know what happens to the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC at that point. I'm not sure anybody cares at that point. And the beauty of this also, you would be able to maintain the bowl season. You'd have every game played between the ends, the second weekend of December and January 1st. You'd have all your bowl games, so all the other teams get a chance to play in a bowl game, including the ones in these 2 leagues if they don't qualify for the postseason tournaments. And then you wrap up the season on January 1st.
I like that. I like a season wrapping up on January 1st. Absolutely. All right. Tonight, of course, it's the announcement night for Peter Woods, big defensive tackle out of Alabaster. He's one of those Alabasters from Thompson High School. Clemson people think they're getting him. We'll be back in a moment.
There was just a lack of Black women, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives. Growing up, I didn't see that. I figured out that I wanted to be a photographer for women of color. I found my niche and I'm sticking to it.
Each year, the South Carolina Education Lottery raises millions of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career, just like Kristen. Your passion is our purpose.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Gibson Insurance. Former Gamecock player Bo Mobley and former coach Stuart Lake want you on their team for all your insurance needs. Now, cost-effective solutions is what they're all about for the now and for the long term. They're licensed with every insurance company in the state. They've got offices in Columbia, Greenville, and Sumter. But if you're listening right now, let me direct you to call Bo and Stu today at 803-605-0029. That's 803-605-0029. Let my good friends take great care of you.
Peanuts and baseball, the perfect pair. There's nothing better than enjoying a bag of crunchy, great-tasting in-shell peanuts washed down with your favorite beverage of choice while cheering on your baseball team. This summer, grab a bag or 2 of delicious protein-packed Virginia Carolina's grown in-shell peanuts. America's favorite snack and America's favorite sport. A match sure to please. This message is brought to you by Virginia Carolina's peanut farmers. To learn more about peanuts, visit the website aboutpeanuts.com. That's right, aboutpeanuts.com. Enjoy a bag of peanuts today.
Are you ready to rock? Bicycle race on over to Sager Park tonight for Columbian Rhapsody, a night that will be a kind of magic. Don't stop us now. The first 1,000 people in attendance will take home a Mason Mercury t-shirt. Not to put you under pressure, but t-shirts will go fast, so make sure to get here early before another one bites the dust. Gates open at 6 p.m. Get your tickets now at firefliestickets.com.
All right!
David Shelton's coming up at the bottom of the hour to talk some high school football and also talk about, of course, the cause that's near and dear to his heart as he is doing his best to talk to as many high school athletes around the state about the dangers of getting caught up in drugs. And he knows firsthand the dangers of all that because he's lost 2 sons to those situations. And we're going to talk, of course, with him about high school football around the states and what he's foreseeing for the coming year, but also talk about what he's got going on from that standpoint as well. So stay tuned for that. And then we'll have, of course, later on in hour number 2, Jeff Owens on NASCAR as the series returns to Atlanta, where they've done some work and smoothed out some bumps and added some more softer walls and things like that. Should be a fast track and a good race this weekend. And then birdies and bogeys around South Carolina and around the nation and around the world with George Bryan and friends here on Sports Talk. Of course, our phone number is 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us on Sports Talk. And since 2002, more than $160 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund SC Hope scholarships for the state's college-bound students. You can learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. Playing for fun is a win for education. So we'll be monitoring the Peter Woods announcement, which is supposed to start around 7. No telling how long it'll take to get to the actual announcement because they're going to be doing a full program, it looks like, from his high school tonight. You can watch it as well. It's going to be streamed on a YouTube channel. We'll tell you about that coming up if you don't know already, or you can just do a search for it and find it and watch it yourself. If you can't watch it, if it times out for us right about the time he's ready to announce, if we can do it, we'll jump to it. But who knows how long that'll take and when that will be. We'll do the best we can with that. And, of course, we'll have more in recruiting for you coming up in just a little bit. Let's hit a quick phone call here before the bottom of the hour and before David Shelton joins us as we go to Andy in Columbia. Andy, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. Good to have you with us.
Corn, Chris, Pat, happy Friday. And Mr. Corn, how dare you give the good news after I had already hung up the other night?
That would be?
That's corn-free week next week.
Well, I just wanted you, when you put your head on the pillow, I just wanted you to have sweet dreams and something to think about.
Well, Rocky doesn't have anything to worry about. Next week, he won't have any cornologues. He'll have to sit through to get any talk time. So, bravo for Rocky there. Now, Mr. Corn, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
If there's a first baseman, retired first baseman, who has 11 gold gloves, has taken 2 different teams to winning the World Series, has a co-MVP under his belt, do you think that man, and also was a great hitter in his time, is probably known as one of the greatest defensive first basemen?
And you're, of course, talking about Keith Hernandez?
Yeah. Do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame?
I was listening to New York sports radio this afternoon while I was cutting the grass in 100-degree temperature. I don't advise that for the weak at heart, by the way. It takes a real man to go out there and push the lawnmower, though I do have a self-propelled. I'll give myself that. And that's what they were talking about because they are retiring his jersey tomorrow at Citi Field. Does he deserve? Now, wasn't he kind of caught up in the steroid stuff as well? Wasn't there some issue, some question?
He had a little problem with the candy.
Okay.
The same problem George had.
Okay. So he
didn't only like the left field and right field line. He liked other lines.
No. Man, you shouldn't be cracking on one of your heroes like that. Come on.
I mean, why not? I mean, he got himself caught up in it, and that's part of life. And hopefully he's learned from it and grown from it and moved on.
Well, I think he has, because I think he's universally loved by Mets fans. He's on Met television with my man Gary Cohen, who he's my man. I'm not his man, but he's my man.
And Ron Darwin. And, they just retired his number in St. Louis, too, this year.
So what do you think? I mean, does he have the numbers to get into the Hall of Fame?
I just gave you some hellacious numbers.
Glove, but you know what? Even listening to the guys in New York talk about it, they're not convinced he's a Hall of Famer.
Well,
I like the way this guy, one of the announcers, one of the talk show hosts, he said, if you have to look up the numbers for a Hall of Famer, potential Hall of Famer, he's not a Hall of Famer. Hall of Famers should be, you just know because you know their career that they should be in the Hall of Fame, right?
Well,
you didn't have to look up Mickey Mantle's numbers, Henry Aaron's numbers, those kind of people. Those are slam dunk Hall of Fame guys that you don't even have to look up. Hey, we got to hit the break, Andy, but you bring up a good question. We'll be back in a moment.
On-point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Expect afternoon and evening showers with some heavy downpours likely. Our low tonight dips to just 76. High humidity this weekend and a 60% chance of showers both Saturday and Sunday. But cooler as the weekend goes on with a high of just 81 on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. Summer's here and it's time to add to your family. It's time to bring home a dog or cat from Columbia Animal Services. For a fee of only $35, get a new family friend and save an animal at the same time. The fee includes spay and neutering, vaccinations, and an exam from the staff's vet. You can adopt, foster, or just make a donation. Call 776-PETS. That's 776-7387. Or find Columbia Animal Services on social media. Look online at petfinder.com to see them. Now is the time. Adopt, foster, donate. Columbia Animal Services.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. A monster deal is apparently off. Elon Musk's $44 billion bid to take over Twitter on the verge of collapse after the Tesla CEO says he is terminating the acquisition. Possible unraveling of the deal, just the latest twist in a saga between the vastly rich Musk and one of the most influential social media platforms. A lengthy internal affairs investigation concluding now. Border Patrol agents in Texas did not whip or strike Haitian migrants last year. Investigators largely faulted agency leaders, though, saying they lack clear goals after dealing with the unprecedented incursion of some 15,000 migrants who had established a squatters camp on the American side of the river. This is SRN News.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not. Medicare Blueprint helped both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on, you need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? No, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net, or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is.
Well, from cutting the grass today, as I mentioned, I feel sorry for the football players that'll be hitting the fields here pretty soon, about 3 weeks from now, because it's still going to be hot, and it's going to be hot for those players, man. I hope the coaches, I hope they let them get water whenever they need it, all the Gatorade they can drink. Now, don't put those guys on the edge, because as hot and as humid as it is, it can cause a lot of problems. That's kind of why I like cutting the grass in the heat, so I can kind of feel like one of the ball players and what they have to go through. And I have to tell myself, push, touch that line, get back up, push.
Let me ask you this, Phil. When you get ready to cut your grass, are you hydrating all the week prior?
Yes, I am.
Extremely. Okay. You're drinking gallons of water.
I'm drinking.
Up to. Okay.
I'm drinking things.
See, the good news is most of, if not all, the high schools in our state now have an athletic trainer who understands all of this and reminds these kids at 17 years of age. And they may not always listen, but you can't hydrate on Friday to get ready Friday night. And certainly during the heat of the summer. Now, I'll remind you, too, this is the weather you enjoy. So
I love it.
You asked for all this stuff.
I'll take this over the cold. Absolutely. This leads into our first guest tonight, a man we call Best in Business, BIB for short. David Shelton of the Charleston Post and Courier High School Sports Report, going on like 35 years of covering high school sports, but best known, I think, for his high school football coverage, not only in the Low Country, but around the state. And we're proud to have him part of our Sports Talk family for, about 3 decades, working with us on the high school football scoreboard show again this season, cranking up in the heat of August. And he joins us to talk a little high school football. Good to have you with us once again, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to know who holds the banner for you to run through on your way to the lawnmower. Like,
the grandkids. I got the grandkids to do that. Yeah.
Go corn, mow that grass.
I tell you, I need a start-finish line, but I am smart enough to know when it's time to stop. Like I knew about 2/3 of the way through this afternoon, it was time to go in and drink some Gatorade and let it cool down a little bit. And I hope, David, that because we'll be starting up here pretty soon, I do hope that everybody's smart out there because it's dangerous.
Well, like Chris just said, there are athletic trainers now that monitor this. You got to have water every 20 minutes. You got to have breaks. You got the wet bulb. If it gets too hot, too humid, you got to shut her down, take the pads off. Things still happen. Bad things happen to kids, but it is a whole lot different than it was, back in the 80s or even 90s. Everybody's got a trainer and a monitor, and they do a really good job.
So as we look ahead to this coming season, and I was excited to see a story by Lou Bayak the other day. Did I say it right this time, Chris?
Bayak.
I thought the Z was quiet. Anyway, or silent. We're going to have a great matchup, I think, to open the season with Hammond going up to play Gaffney at the reservation. That should be very, very interesting. As you look across the landscape of high school football in the state for 2022, take us from the upstate to the Low Country and highlight who you think are going to be some of the standout teams?
Well, I mean, we kind of say this every year that the rich are still rich. The people that are normally really good are going to be really good. That's why they're called programs. The Gaffneys, the Northwesterns, the Burns, Dutch Fork, people like that. Abbeville into a Christchurch in 1A or now 2A, I guess, is going to be pretty good again. So I mean, great collegiate. We'll see how they kind of reload. Losing KZ Adams is a huge loss to college, but I don't. Right now, looking at it in early July, I don't see anybody that jumps out as like a big surprise team. I just really feel like the up in the upstate, Gaffney, Burns, Northwestern will be three of the top teams. I think Spartanburg may be. I think Mark Hodge is really getting it together over there, and they got a quarterback. And I've always said, as you mentioned, for 33 years now, these high school teams that have good quarterbacks, good triggermen, they usually win a lot of games. And Spartanburg has one, and I think Hodge now has really developed that program. They got really hot in the playoffs last year. So I would not be surprised if the Vikings aren't back in the thick of it in the 5A ranks anyway.
All right. You move down to the Midlands, of course. I guess it all begins with Dutch Fork and who stands to be the quarterback? Are we looking at Appler getting his chance at quarterback at Dutch Fork, or is it somebody else?
No, I think it's his time. I think he'll start the season as the guy, and he'll probably hold on to it. I mean, he was a good player. He just, they've always had quarterbacks, so he's next in line. He waited his turn, and now he's going to get his opportunity. I think they're going to be really good again with Jarvis Green at running back. They're going to be able to run the football. If they can't have success throwing it, they're going to be able to run it. But I think Appler's good enough. I mean, I think he's going to be fine. I think they're going to be able to be balanced. I think Camden will be, again, very good. They've kind of Rent's got that kind of thing going now, and in that 3A ranks, I really think Camden's going to be really good again.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to the PD, the Grand Strand area. You'll look at Dillon, I guess, being strong once again. Myrtle Beach. Will Myrtle Beach have the thrower and the catchers like they've had in recent years? What's happening over there? What do you see in that part of the state?
Well, I got to see them a little bit in 707 at Charleston Southern. I guess last 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. I don't know their names, but they got some pass catchers, and they got one, I think, the sophomore that is going to be. He's going to be another great one. He's going to be the next big time prospect coming out of there, and the quarterback looked solid. I mean, it looked like he made some good throws. Kind of a good sized kid, strong arm. You just kind of expect, when you talk about Dillon and you talk about the power running game and the great defense with Myrtle Beach, you just kind of expect that they're going to have a quarterback and receivers. They're going to be able to throw the football. And, they look pretty good. Again, 707, there's no linemen, and I don't get real excited. I just try to look at individual skill players. And but Myrtle Beach is going to be fine. They're going to be okay.
And what about in the Charleston area? As a matter of fact, tell us about, I saw a tweet of yours a little while ago, Jalen Mitchell, the sophomore offensive lineman at Fort Dorchester, that you tweeted out was 7'1", 466 pounds?
46 pounds. He's lost 20 pounds. No.
Oh, okay.
But he is
7'1".
He does measure at 7'1", 446, and I put a picture on Twitter. He's a large human being and going to play guard. And I pity the fool that has to try to get by him. But they got a lot of guys on the offensive line that are big. Their smallest guy is like 265. So Davon Kinlaw's I think he's his brother, Davion Kinlaw, is 6'6", 280. He's a junior. They don't have any seniors on the offensive line, but they're all big. The center is like 6'5", 300. So they're going to be good again. They got a really good quarterback in Osborne. They're going to be able to run the football. They're really good at running back. Pretty good at receiver, but not as good as they've been in the last couple of years. But and they're always going to have athletes on defense. They're always going to run, be very physical. I think Oceanside Collegiate now moving down to 2A. I think they're going to be a serious state title contender. New coach, but a lot of really good players, and good running back that just committed to Charlotte. And of course they have Freeling, the offensive tackle that's being recruited by everybody.
Yeah.
And if there's a surprise down here, I think you might look at Cane Bay, because I think they've got 4 offensive linemen back. They're all big. They're as big as Fort up front, and they got a really good running back in TJ Wright, who's a junior. They got their front 7 on defense will be really good. Their back 4 not as great, but I think that's a team that can contend with Goose Creek to win that Region 7 title in 5A. And I think Stratford will be better. It's not going to be I don't know if there's a state championship team in the Low Country, but I think there's going to be some pretty good football. We'll see how it develops over the course of the year. But, I think Fort is still, kind of a step above everybody else down here.
Mm-hmm.
David Shelton of the High School Sports Report and also the High School Scoreboard Show here on the Sports Talk Media Network with us here tonight. And David, this is always a fun time of year because realignment has just come out and teams starting to look ahead and getting used to their new region. And it seems like as things get new, they also are old once again. And as good as Region 2 5A has been over the years, I'm guessing it's going to be really, really good once again as Gaffney has moved back in there with the Spartanburgs and the Burns and those guys. Outside of that region, is Region 6 4A the only other one that's anywhere close to comparable in terms of top to bottom state title contenders?
Yeah, I would say likely. The only thing missing in that Region 2 5A is Northwestern. If you plop them back in there, it would be like the old days, and I guess Rock Hill. But Northwestern's going to be pretty good over there in the other region. But yeah, I think the Region 6 4A with the traditional powers, Hartsville and Myrtle Beach. North Myrtle Beach got a new coach, but I don't think they're going to miss much of a beat, and they're going to have a lot of guys coming back. So, I think they're going to be fairly solid. It's going to realignment was not as crazy as it has been in past years. I think some of the bigger moves were in the lower classifications, like Oceanside going down to 2A, Beaufort going from 4A to 3A, joining in that conference with Hanahan now. That'll make that a pretty good deal. But yeah, there was some movement, but a lot of people, it really didn't get a lot of attention because there were not a lot of appeals. In fact, I can only think of 1 or 2, but the appeals didn't even get a lot of interest. So I think people are kind of settling in. I think we'll talk more about it once we get into August and into September. Then people will start paying attention. But I really think, like, when it came out in February, it was kind of a non-story for a lot of people.
About the potential, the matchup to kick off the season between Gaffney and Hammond. Skisa going now to 4 classifications. Is that going to make a big difference in your mind in terms of the competitive balance from top to bottom in the independent schools?
Well, I think it will, with now creating that 4A and kind of getting Hammond and Trinity Collegiate in their own division and giving some of them smaller, which were 3A schools, giving them a little bit of a better opportunity and have another state champion, that kind of thing. And then some of the 3As drop down to 2A. But it's still going to be, we're still not talking about a whole major difference. I still think, the Hammond, Trinity Collegiate's very athletic, very talented. They may be able to give Hammond a scare. We'll see. They played in the championship game last year. We'll see if they can put it all together. Lawrence Manning's always going to be pretty good. I think Ben Lippin and Cardinal Newman will get better. So it will have an effect with some of the smaller schools getting reclassified into a different classification. But really, I'll be honest with you, it's almost spelling the end of 8-man football in Skeeza. There's still a few. But not very many. Several of the 8-man are now playing 11-man. Holly Hill Academy, won the last couple of state championships in 8-man. They're still 8-man. I think Richard Wynn is still 8-man, but the 8-man league is getting smaller in terms of the number of schools. So we may see an end to that in the next year or two.
Going to miss those 82 to 68 scores on Friday night, David. David Shelton with us for a couple of more minutes. Okay, turn serious now, because your life turned, of course, very serious with the loss of your two sons, Justin and Ryan, in recent years. And you created one team, one cause. And, brother, we tip our hat to you for everything that you're doing and trying to do, not just in the Low Country, but anywhere in the state. You are offering to go and speak to groups of young people, teams, gatherings, whatever the case may be, and you've been very busy doing that. How do you feel you're doing? Do you think your point, your message is being received?
I do think I've been making an impact. I really look forward to the fall. I've had a lot of people calling about setting me up for the fall. I think I've done about 20, 25 speeches, and after every speech I've had, young people come up to me or even email me and say that what the message I gave them, struck a chord. And that's really all I'm trying to do. And you guys know, my goal is to save one life and to try to make one of our teenagers think twice before starting drugs, because I'm telling you right now, people do not understand the magnitude of the problem that we have, not just in this state, but in this country. But of course, my interest is in this state, and the drug addiction problem, the number of deaths that we're seeing from kids age 15 to 25, they're doubling, they're tripling. The opioid addiction, which is now complicated by the use of fentanyl, which is killing people, which killed my son, Justin. My son was a heroin addict, but that's really all he ever did. And then he got some bad heroin with fentanyl, and that caused him to die. And I'm just trying to get the message across to our young people that you do have a choice, and the choice is more important now than ever. It's not about smoking weed anymore, because now they're putting fentanyl in marijuana, and it only takes a nanogram of fentanyl to kill a human being. And if you don't know what a nanogram is, go to the beach and get a grain of sand. That grain of sand, if it was fentanyl, could kill you. And these kids have to get this message. I get very involved, very in depth in my son's life. Both my sons were high school athletes. Both my sons, I thought, were raised correctly. Neither of them had issues until they got out of high school and had to face life. And it takes one time. My son, Justin, started smoking weed, tried to convince me that weed was okay. Nobody's ever died from weed. At that point, he was right. But now kids are dying from smoking marijuana. And I'm just doing, I tell this story. I've told stories for 33 years in my writing, games or athletes. I've done, my whole life has been about stories. And now I have an opportunity to tell the most important story that I've ever told. And it has become a passion. I'll be honest, it's become more important than writing. It's become more important than high school football. It's become more important than high school sports. Mm-hmm. This is my lot in life. And I'm just, I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I've had up to this point. And I really want people to understand. You go to my website, oneteam1cause.com. That's the number one team, the number one cause.com. There's a phone number there. There's a place where you can email me. I will come and speak at no charge anywhere in South Carolina. I will drive there on my dime. I need 45 minutes, and I need as many young people in a room as I can get at church, at schools, at YMCAs. I don't care, because it really has, the last 5 months have really, that's become my main mission in life. I hate to say that it's my calling, because I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to lose two sons to drug overdoses, but I really feel like that God has put me in this position because he knows I can handle it. And Phil, we've talked privately. My health is not the best, but I don't really care about any of that right now. All I care about is reaching our young people, and any coach out there, any parent that needs me to come to anywhere, I will be there. And just, if you can't get in touch through my website, email Sports Talk and Phil will get you in touch with me.
Absolutely.
Because it is a message that is very, very critical for our young people.
Well, we've always thought of you as special, and you are a special individual to take on this battle, basically by yourself, and to put yourself out there. And we're going to devote, I haven't told you this, but I want to devote on Friday nights, part of our high school scoreboard, to your cause. So once we do the scores, and once we do the stats, and once we do interviews, we're going to give you a platform to talk across the state to people on Friday nights once again. So we'll plan for that.
Well, that would be wonderful, and certainly I appreciate it, and I will do. I even started a little football jamboree down here, and for some teams that didn't have a jamboree to play in, and Charleston Southern has been very, very gracious to me in cooperating with me, and we have a group that deals with young adults and drug addiction and drug counseling and drug information that we're going to raise money for. It's not for my cause, it's for their cause, and they partnered with me, and we're gonna do this. We think next year we're gonna have 2 nights of just football. This has just become the passion. It really has. I wake up in the morning thinking about it. I go to sleep at night thinking about it, thinking about my son. I know wherever they are, this is what they want. They're very proud of me, and I can feel it. And that's why I keep doing it, because it is, and like I said, it's just something that kids need to hear. And most of them roll their eyes, they can walk out of the room. But if one takes effect, that's all I'm trying to get.
It's amazing, David, as you're talking to me, I've gotten a text message here from somebody listening to us who says, can you hook me up with David? So bingo, there you go.
That's what we got to do.
Mm-hmm. Take care, my friend.
Them up with me.
We're going to hook them up with you, and we're going to do a lot more. Stay tuned, and we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, okay, David. Guys, have a good show.
All right, thank you. All right, David Shelton.
Wow.
That's David and I go way back, and he is a gift to the state of South Carolina.
There's no question.
I mean, going back to just the football side of it. This is a guy who would drive when we were doing the football show going back 25, 30 years, and he was just working for the sports report. He would cover a game in Columbia. He would drive up from Charleston, cover a game in Columbia, come to the studio, do our show, and then drive back to Charleston. He said, if I don't get home, check a ditch on I-26. But then to have this turn in his life and to step up like he has is just amazing.
I'm sitting here reading his website, and folks, it is powerful stuff, and just, it rips your heart out to try to imagine what a father is going through losing 2 sons. There's just one quick paragraph I want to mention in here. He said, Justin refused and said, if I really cared, I would give him $20. I knew what he needed the money for, and I refused. There was no argument. He just didn't have the energy to fight with me. He said, okay, and said he loved me, then just got out of the car and walked away. His last words ever to me were, I love you, Dad.
And guys, remember just a few weeks back when we had Charleston Southern head football coach Autry Denson on the show, and we brought this up and asked him about what it meant for he and his team to have him come in and talk to them, David come in and speak to them. And you could hear the love through the phone. You could hear the love and the admiration and just how proud Coach Denson was to have had David come in and speak to him and his program. And I just mentioned that to David off air. Just you could hear the love from this coach, and just so many people out there that have been touched by things like this and have been affected by this, and are just blown away by what it is David is doing and what he's doing to try to help young people.
And David's the most unassuming guy in the world. He hates it when I call him best in business. He does his job. He doesn't ask for anything more. He's not looking for pats on the back. His health is not great, and I've seen him standing on sidelines knowing that he's in a lot of discomfort because he's had things going on with his legs and circulation, not to get too personal and all that, but he's just been in some pain. and now he's carrying the emotional baggage as well. So amazing guy. We're happy to call him friend, and we're happy to call him best in business, Bib.
He's an absolute role model.
Because he just I turn it over to him when I have a question about a team. David, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of that guy? What does this win mean? What does this loss mean? What's this coach doing? You know, he knows it all.
And there's not a team in our state, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, what have you, men or women's teams, that in our state that cannot benefit from having David speak to them.
Okay, top of the hour break. We'll do recruiting on the other side. Got some Dylan Lonergan news to tell you about. If you haven't already heard, we'll share that with you. And they should be commencing the announcement ceremony for Peter Woods in Alabaster, Alabama, coming up here in just a few minutes. We'll be monitoring that and bring you that announcement when it happens. And we're back after the top of the hour.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. That monster deal is apparently no more. Elon Musk's $44 billion bid to take over Twitter on the verge of collapse after he says he is terminating the acquisition. Possible unraveling of the deal, just the latest twist in a deal between the vastly rich Musk and one of the most influential social media platforms. Lengthy internal affairs investigation concluding Border Patrol agents did not whip or strike Haitian migrants last year. However, investigators largely defaulted agency leaders, saying they lack clear goals with dealing with some 15,000 migrants. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Chris Magnus says one agent did yell comments regarding a migrant's national origin and his gender.
There is no justification for the actions of some of our personnel, including unprofessional and deeply offensive conduct.
And he adds the entire situation that day was extremely chaotic. Also at townhall.com, Louisiana can now enforce a ban on almost all abortions.
State District Judge Ethel Julian has lifted a temporary restraining order banning enforcement of Louisiana's trigger law, which was to have taken effect when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Days after that decision, another Louisiana State District judge issued the restraining order in response to a lawsuit filed by a North Louisiana abortion clinic and others. Abortion advocates in several states have filed court challenges to individual state laws restricting abortions. I'm Mike Hempen.
And more on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're considering protecting your retirement with gold or silver, listen up. Mark Davis here. One company I trust for this, Advantage Gold, the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. They are so passionate about teaching people how to own physical gold and silver. They've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because they really educate their clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. Call 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000. Talk to one of their experts. They can send you a free gold kit along with a free copy of the Wall Street Journal national bestseller, The Great Devaluation. Number again, 800-900-8000. Don't wait any longer. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value, all from Advantage Gold. 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Call Advantage Gold today. 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
PNC Financial Services Group Chief Economist Gus Foucher says many people have never experienced this kind of inflation, now at its highest in 40 years.
Gas prices are much higher than they were a year or two ago. Food prices are much higher. The prices that people are paying every day. Wage growth is good, but it's not keeping up with inflation, so people rightfully feel like they're falling behind.
And Foucher adding it's a very real worry for millions of Americans.
People are rightfully concerned about high inflation. That's making them anxious. The economy is not in recession. It's not contracting. But people are, concerned about the potential that inflation could last, and that could really erode their earning power.
Wall Street Friday, Dow Industrials off 46. The S&P 500 was down 3. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Expect afternoon and evening showers with some heavy downpours likely. Our low tonight dips to just 76. High humidity this weekend and a 60% chance of showers both Saturday and Sunday. But cooler as the weekend goes on with a high of just 81 on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network on a Friday heading into the weekend. Not a corn-free Friday, but it will be a KFW next week, corn-free week, because I'll be on the beach. I'll be bronzing my body and preparing it for the upcoming football season. This is my week to read a football magazine or two and, go out and get the suntan. I slap on the copper tone. Do you still use copper tone? Slap on the copper tone.
I'll slap it on. I use the spray now. I mean, we've advanced past the lather. But I'll slap on some. I'll spray on the tan. And next week's going to be really easy for Pat and Smitty and I, because all we're going to do is run David Shelton's interview over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
because it was much better than anything we'll come up with next week. I can assure you.
Sadly, as a ginger or redhead, whatever you want to call me, I'm very jealous of you being able to use the spray sunscreen. That does not work for me. I have to bathe in sunscreen, or else I am just purely red for a week.
All right, when we come back, we'll be in Atlanta. We go from that directly to Atlanta for SEC Media Days, which begins a week from Monday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Smitty will be in Charlotte for ACC football kickoff, so we'll have all that covered for you. Week after next, we got really one more week of just fooling around, and then we get serious with things the following week. So Jeff Owens is coming up in the fast lane in just a couple of minutes. Let's give you the recruiting report for tonight, which, of course, is brought to you by our good friends at the Seawells. Hope you get a chance next week to enjoy the great daily luncheon buffet at Seawells every day, Monday through Friday, from 11 till 2 o'clock. And it, of course, is delicious, and it is, they continue to help fight inflation with that price of only $13 for their daily luncheon buffet. And Pat next week will help handle the commercial for Seawells and give you the rundown on the menu on a daily basis. And, of course, for the very best in the catering business, you want to give the folks at Seawells a call at 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. They'll come to your location to help you put on your big event, or you can host it at their location, 1125 Rosewood Drive in Columbia. So we are monitoring the Peter Woods announcement. Are we not, Pat? How's it looking so far? They got balloons and everything.
They do, but as of right now, the YouTube screen is still just waiting on the broadcast to begin. Looks like it's set to start at about 7:15, so we're under 10 minutes now.
Okay. Well, Some believe on the Clemson side that they're getting him. I have no way of knowing, but some believe on the Clemson side that they're getting Peter Woods, who is proclaimed as an outstanding defensive tackle who can also kind of shift outside and play defensive end at 6'2", 265. He runs extremely well, and it's Clemson, Alabama, primarily for him. Clemson, Alabama, Florida, and Oklahoma were his stated Final Four, but his only official visit was to Clemson the first weekend in June when Clemson had their big weekend. And he also made 2 unofficial visits to Clemson. Clemson and Alabama are thought to be the top 2 for Woods, as I mentioned, who also made unofficial visits to Alabama as well. And so Clemson has, they've got apparently a great shot to get him, and some believe they are going to get him. And that'd be a big pickup for the Tigers, especially going into the heart of Alabama and pulling one away that Nick Saban really, really wants. And he has a teammate who was a big – well, that team has several really good players. That Thompson High School team is loaded, and there's an offensive lineman on that team that Clemson is recruiting heavily as well, and they have a chance to get also. Now, as far
how much
as
does Dabo's ties quickly?
Yes,
I hate to interrupt, but
No,
how
that's
much
okay.
do Dabo's ties to Alabama do you believe help them? Because they've gone into Alabama and mined some really good talent over the years up to Clemson. He wouldn't be the first.
Well, it's not
to
just
Clemson.
Dabo and his ties to Alabama. He's had assistant coaches who have ties to Alabama who've recruited that state very well for him as, in recent years too. So that's been a bonus too. But Nick Eason was a great hire for Dabo Swinney when he had to fill that position. Former Tiger himself, an NFL guy, and he has come in and just done great work for them in recruiting defensive linemen. So guys that he had relationships before when he was at Auburn recruiting, and other guys that he's picked up on. So that's been a big bonus for them as well. What you got, Pat?
No, just exactly what you just hit on. Just from his days at Auburn, even though he wasn't there that long, you got to think he made lots of connections within the state of Alabama.
Yeah. I mentioned this Thompson High team. There's a player there South Carolina's been recruiting, Elijah Williams, 6'4", 290. He's not as heralded as Woods. But he's a good player. He's a big player. The offensive lineman I was talking about is Stanton Rammel. He is 6'7", 310. And he's one of the offensive linemen that Clemson is still going after. Pittsburgh, North Carolina, and Tennessee were his 3 official visits, but Clemson has been among his favorites. Pittsburgh, North Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, Michigan State, Mississippi State, and Penn State. Now to the latest on Dylan Lonergan. He's moved up his announcement from Tuesday to Monday, Chris. So you'll have a great way to open up the week. He's going to announce at 4 o'clock at Brookwood High School. The announcement will be carried on CBS Sports HQ. He's been deciding between USC, Alabama, and Stanford. Took official visits to all 3. According to his dad today, who we exchanged messages with, a decision. As soon as this stuff came out, many of the online people projected him to Alabama immediately. After most have been projecting him to South Carolina, I'd like to have that kind of freedom to make a prediction and then say, well, wait a minute, no, I'm going to change. I'm going to predict here now. No, wait a minute, I'm going to change. I'm going to predict here now. I mean, you'll never be wrong. That's the problem with today's America. Everybody has to be right all the time. Am I correct? Everybody wants a trophy. Nobody can accept being wrong. So they give you this system where you can make a prediction, but then after you learn you're wrong, you can change your prediction and then be right. How's that work? Anyway, Lonergan was playing baseball today. He's a baseball pitcher and I think also an infielder. He's a big-time baseball prospect. But his dad said no decision's been made yet, and the family's going to get together this weekend to make the decision. So people who are projecting him to Alabama, maybe they know something from somebody, or maybe they're just guessing. He's been to South Carolina more than any other place, And the Gamecocks don't have a 2023 quarterback. The other 2 do. I would take South Carolina's baseball program over Alabama's. Their facilities, wouldn't you?
tradition.
I mean,
Sure.
the overall,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't take him over Stanford, but I would take him over. I would say maybe. Well, right now Stanford would be better baseball, but South Carolina's got history, tradition on its side.
Mm-hmm.
And the baseball thing is a big deal because, I mean, he's good enough. He might be an early draft pick in 2023. Well, you might not even ever get him on campus if he gets drafted like in the first round or something. But he wants to play both sports. Here's the other thing. He wants to play both sports in college. Is Nick Saban going to let him, if he goes to Alabama, was Nick Saban going to let a quarterback play baseball too? You know?
Gosh, no.
I wouldn't think, but maybe he's given his word if that's where he's going to end up. But that'll be 4:00 on Monday now and not on Tuesday. An offensive lineman the Gamecocks are involved with, offensive tackle Caden Jones, 6'7", 305 of New Orleans. Notice the correct pronunciation of New Orleans, not New Orleans. New Orleans.
New Orleans.
You got that. You pronounce it the way the people pronounce it. They pronounce it New Orleans. Anyway,
Lafayette.
he's got a lot of offers. USC, in fact, he's down to 10. USC, Florida State, Houston, Minnesota, Florida, Texas, Missouri, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Howard. He's not yet been to USC, but he has developed a nice rapport with the Gamecock coaching staff from talking to them. They like his upside, his athleticism, the fact that he can play tackle, but he can get down low for a guy that's got some height to him. He did make unofficials to Florida, Florida State, Houston, Texas A&M this spring and summer. He is planning a multi-day return visit to Florida the end of this month when Florida has their Friday Night Lights deal. No rush to make a decision. In fact, he's going to wait till February, he says. He'll take some official visits during the season, and then he plans to wait until the February signing period to make his announcement and make his decision. 2024 receiver free safety Chase Bird of Greer was offered by Maryland. That is his first official offer. And that is the end of the recruiting report for now. But keeping an eye on Peter Woods to see what he ends up doing tonight. And if we can, we'd have to break in to birdies and bogeys if we get to that point where he's about to make the announcement. We'll have to interrupt. You know, George might be standing over a 3-foot eagle putt to win the tournament, and we would, George, hold on a second, wait a minute. And we'd have to we'll just bring you the point where he's about to announce. And now my decision is to go with Dabo Sweeney over Nick Saban. All right, so let's hit the break, and we'll check out what's happening in NASCAR with Jeff Owens as they go racing this weekend in Atlanta. Should be a very fast race. We're going to talk about speeds about what? 190 plus, you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Getting close to super speedway type stuff in Atlanta now, much like Talladega and Daytona.
Yeah. So we'll hear from Jeff coming up. Birdies and bogeys with George Bryan. And again, keeping an eye on what's happening. Well, keeping an eye on what's happening with Peter Woods for you here on Sports Talk. We're back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Peanuts and baseball, the perfect pair. There's nothing better than enjoying a bag of crunchy, great-tasting in-shell peanuts washed down with your favorite beverage of choice while cheering on your baseball team. This summer, grab a bag or two of delicious protein-packed Virginia Carolina's grown in-shell peanuts. America's favorite snack and America's favorite sport. A match sure to please. This message is brought to you by Virginia Carolina's peanut farmers. To learn more about peanuts, visit the website aboutpeanuts.com. That's right, aboutpeanuts.com. Enjoy a bag of peanuts today.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders talk, the pack is moving past. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the W say. Boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Love it when they're drafting, love it when they slide, love it when the back's straight, the throttle's open wide. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the W say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Let's go racing, boys. Hey, let's go racing, boys. Chris, I can't hear you. Let's go racing, boys. In Atlanta, where they've done some work on the track and they're going to speed that thing up, we welcome in Jeff Owens tonight here on Sports Talk. Did I hear you're getting ready to go to a movie?
So I can get my speed fix in early this weekend.
Where are you headed? We missed the first part. Where are you headed?
I said I'm seeing Top Gun.
Oh,
excellent! So that I can get my speed fix early.
Yeah,
this weekend.
You'll be in the right.
You're gonna love that.
You'll be in the right frame of mind, won't you?
Yeah, I just hope I don't wreck somebody while I'm here.
Well, let's talk about last week very quickly. Up at Road America, what'd you think of the race there and the way things turned out? And we have another first-time winner, and we have another spot taken in the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't think it was a great race. It was kind of an old-school road course race where one guy sort of checked out, and there wasn't a whole lot of action, and it seemed like Chase Elliott had him covered until that last restart. But then we get a fantastic finish and a great story with Tyler Reddick winning his first race of the year. A little surprised that he won there, but I'm not surprised that he won a race because this is a good, talented guy. Another guy just like Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez who have been knocking on the door all year long, and at the most opportune time, he wins a race and he's in the playoffs. So I think that's great for him, great for Richard Childress Racing, and another first-time winner. So this just continues to be an amazing season.
And you got to look at it from his standpoint. You beat Chase Elliott. You beat the best on a road course right now. That's got to make the win all the more special for him and that team to know they beat the best to get that victory.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like you said, you beat the best at his track. And so, yeah, that's a huge feather in his cap. I mean, this is another talented young driver. And I think a little bit like Kyle Larson, he's sort of handicapped a little bit by the team he's with, because we all know Richard Childress Racing really has not been that good for about a decade now. They've struggled for a long time, and but that's who he gets his opportunity with. But he won a lot of Xfinity races. He's very talented. He's a guy who can win. So I think they get his team a little bit better, he could be a factor every week. But yeah, I mean, this win certainly establishes himself
and sort of legitimizes him as a legit cup driver.
What'd you make of the switcheroo of crew members? I guess you would say a team swapping crews. That's in the Gibbs racing stable, right?
Yeah, in the Gibbs camp, although not exactly, because one of the teams is Bubba Wallace over at Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan's team, but they're closely affiliated. They share a lot of technology and a lot of stuff like that. So, yeah, they're swapping crew members between Bubba Wallace's team and Christopher Bell's team. And, it's like we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Kevin Harvick. This is a desperation move. I mean, both of these guys are fighting for their lives to get into the playoffs. Neither one of them have won a race this year. Their teams have been struggling a little bit, particularly on pit road. So, trying to shake things up. I mean, the pressure is mounting. These guys only got a few races left to win and get in the playoffs, so they're throwing everything at the wall that they can.
Racing in the fast lane with Jeff Owens here tonight on Sports Talk. And Jeff, before we get into Atlanta this weekend, news coming out yesterday that the city of Chicago is preparing for perhaps a road course event, a street race through the city of Chicago. First off, your just general thoughts on that itself, and how much maybe does that salve a wound, if you will, after what happened with Chicagoland Speedway sort of being left off the NASCAR circuit?
Yeah. I'm excited for NASCAR to go to Chicago. That's a good market, obviously one of the biggest in the country, and they need to be there. The race in Chicagoland, which is really about an hour away, never really took off. They had, a few good races early on, and then they sort of fizzled, and like you said, they're not on schedule anymore. So this is a great move from a marketing and business standpoint. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's going to be a great race, and I don't like the idea of a street race. These cars are hard enough to get around a road course that's built for racing, but a street course that's really built for F1 cars, I'm not sure that's going to create a great race for heavy stock cars. I would have rather seen them go somewhere like Soldier Field, which they also mentioned we want to do, and putting a little bitty quarter-mile short track there like they did in the LA Coliseum. I think that would have been a better option. Maybe that wasn't feasible. I don't know. I do know they had been talking about doing this for quite a while, so they finally got the deal done, and we'll see. So they'll make a great event out of it. I'm just not sure how good the racing is going to be.
All right, let's turn our attention to Atlanta this weekend, because they've done some work there since the last time we talked about Atlanta, taking out a bump in one of the turns. I think they've done some additional work with the safer barriers in some areas. Going to be a fast track, don't you think, this weekend in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great if they get on the track. They're going to be battling rain all weekend, it looks like, which is unfortunate because really, if you think back, we've had a lot of great races this year, but in my book, the best one of the year was that spring race in Atlanta. They had 46 leak changes, and it was a fabulous race. That was the one where all the drivers were whining and complaining because they had changed the racetrack and put restrictor plates on the cars. Mm-hmm. And they go down there and they have a fantastic race, close competition. It was almost like a Daytona or Talladega, which we really didn't think was possible, but they pulled it off and had some big wrecks, and then an exciting finish that came down to the wire between William Byron and Ross Chastain. So really, I think what Atlanta gives you now is another true restrictor plate race. So I think this is going to be very much like Daytona and Talladega. They're going to tear up a lot of stuff, and there's no telling who's going to win.
Who's your favorite?
I'm going to go with one of these guys who, as we talked about a little while ago, is under tremendous pressure to get it done. I think Bubba Wallace, he's a good restrictor plate racer. He won at Talladega for his only Cup victory, and he's been second at Daytona, I think, 3 times. And he was in the hunt in Atlanta last time, and he got in a wreck. So I like him to contend. I think Christopher Bell will be up there because he's sort of desperate as well. And then the other guy that hadn't won a race this year that to me is one of the biggest surprises is Ryan Blaney. He's second in points, has run well, but just hasn't closed the deal yet. But he's also good at Atlanta and good on restrictor plate races. So I keep my eye on him and Bubba Wallace this weekend. I think those two will be up there knocking on the door at the end.
What kind of crowd are you expecting there in Atlanta? Are people going to get out and support this race?
Well, I think that if the weather holds, I mean, that's a big factor right now. It doesn't look good for the weekend, but you take that out of the equation, I think, yeah. That they've changed things around down there, shifted those dates, trying to find one that suits the fans. And now, the one thing about it, it's awfully hot right now in Atlanta. So if you don't have the rain, you're probably going to burn up with the heat. So, that makes it sort of an iffy crowd for this weekend. But take the weather out of the equation, and yes, I think they will support this race because Atlanta made a great change. They changed the track, they changed the rules, and they put on a great race last time. And I would think fans would be clamoring to see this. So I see this working out down the road. Weather may mess it up this weekend, but yeah, I think they made a great move, and I think NASCAR fans and the fans around Atlanta should start embracing this race.
All right, my man. Well, listen, enjoy the movie. Be careful driving home afterwards. Remember, you're not Tom Cruise in an F-16 or whatever it is he's flying. And keep it between the lines and under the speed limit.
We'll do our best.
Okay.
You guys
Thanks, Jeff.
Have a great weekend, guys.
See you, buddy. All right, there you go. In the fast lane with Jeff Owens here on Sports Talk. Appreciate Jeff being with us. And we'll see what happens this weekend in Atlanta. I do like the racing in Atlanta. It's usually
no doubt
pretty exciting. It's fast, and they'll have qualifying tomorrow morning in Atlanta, and we'll see if the temperatures are maybe a little bit down a little, and let the speeds go up because, as we know, heat sucks away the speed on these racetracks. All right, after the break, we will turn our attention to the golf world. Got a lot going on in golf. You got a couple of events involving PGA players. We've got the Palmetto Amateur 3 rounds in down at Aiken. We'll touch on that. And, of course, George Bryan will have some great things for us in the golf world, and we're keeping an eye out on that Peter Woods announcement. We'll break in for that.
Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Expect afternoon and evening showers with some heavy downpours likely. Our low tonight dips to just 76. High humidity this weekend and a 60% chance of showers both Saturday and Sunday. But cooler as the weekend goes on with a high of just 81 on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Elon Musk announcing Friday he will abandon his $44 billion offer to buy Twitter after the company failed to provide enough information about the number of fake accounts. Now, Twitter has immediately fired back, saying it would sue the Tesla CEO to uphold the deal. The likely unraveling of the acquisition, just the latest twist in a saga between the world's richest man and one of the most influential social media platforms. Huge network outage from a Toronto-based telecommunications company, leaving parts of Canada in a big mess. It affected internet service, causing problems with police, courthouses, passport offices, as well as many other facilities around the country. This is SRN News.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on ShootersChoiceSC.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, ShootersChoiceSC.com. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Honey, did you see the gas prices as you drove home from work today?
I did. They are getting ridiculous.
Good thing for us, we don't have to go anywhere to get our medicine.
That's right. Ever since we switched to True Pharmacy, they have delivered all of our medicine for free.
Not only that, every time we buy anything at True Pharmacy, including our prescriptions, we get loyalty points.
Aren't those great? We get to use our loyalty points to buy other over-the-counter items.
Yes, this month I used them for our multivitamins.
I sure am glad we switched to True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations to serve you, West Columbia and Columbia on Divine.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
The most dangerous appliance in the house is the clothes dryer. There's no bigger fire hazard than a dryer not working properly. I'm Patrick with Dryer Vent Wizard in Lexington. Is your dryer taking more than one cycle to dry clothes? It's more than cleaning out a lint trap. Dryer Vent Wizard helps with fire prevention, avoiding mold and mildew, saving energy, which saves dollars and extends the life of your dryer and even your clothes. Dryer vents are all we do. Online, it's LexingtonDryerVentWizard.com or call us today, 693-5357. That's 693-5357.
Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee bit. That's when my caddy lost sight of it. That little white pellet has never been found to this day. But it went straight down the middle, like they say.
All right, time to jump into the golf world. Though George Bryan knows that we may have to jump in very quickly for the Peter Woods announcement if they happen to get to it in the next 25 minutes. I have some concerns about that as this thing goes on and on and on. It is time for Birdies and Bogeys around the state of South Carolina with George Bryan. As we bring George in, let me update a couple of things. We have the Scottish Open going on where Cameron Tringale, 72 today after 61 yesterday. He leads at 7 under. What you got, Pat?
Sorry, I hate to cut in, but I think that he's about to make his announcement right now if we want to go to this.
Let's go to it.
You know, the commitment is happening in a few hours after you wake up. How are you feeling?
Man, I just know it's a blessing to be here. Blessing to have all my family out here supporting me and wake up this morning in this position. I know it's a lot of people who want to be in this position that I'm in. So I just take that for what it is. And I thank God every day, every night before I go to bed, every morning when I wake up, just for allowing me and equipping me with the gifts that I have.
I love it, man. So you come to this decision day. What brought you to this particular day to say, I'm ready to make my commitment on this very day?
You know, I just feel like, well, my commitment was supposed to be done, you know, before the season. So that was my hard timeline, just so I can be ready and prepared for my team. So the main thing for me was just when I knew. And so I felt like I knew. I felt like I had enough information going into my commitment to make a decision.
All right. real quick, you narrowed it down to these 4 schools. I want to briefly talk about these 4 schools and how did you come to this conclusion? Let's be honest, the elephant in the room, which is Jackson State, and HBCU, which is a historically black college and university.
Okay, we're going to break in. We're going to go in and out with this thing because they're going to talk for a few more minutes. So I want to start with George and guest Rob Thames in just a second here. We'll go back to this when he gets through all of his talking about his final teams. But I wanted to say at the Scottish Open, we've got in terms of local flavor, Lucas Glover +7, not going to make the cut. Andrew Novak +10 and Matthew Neesmith +11, not going to make the cut. And then we have at the Barbasol Championship where Adam Svensson, 62-67, 15 under, but a lot of local flavor. Jonathan Bird -8, Doc Redmond -7, Scott Brown -5, William McGirt -4, Bill Haas -3, Ben Martin -2, Tommy Gainey -2, DJ Trahan -1, and Wesley Bryan +3. Now, play was suspended for a while because of weather. Not all those rounds have been completed at this point. And we have 3 rounds in at the Palmetto Amateur down in Aiken. Brantley Baker and Alex Goff, your leaders, at 8 under par. And we have Runchapong Uprayong. All right, George, I'll let you handle that one. He's 7 under, and Cody Carroll is 6 under. Okay, George, we'll have to jump back in for a moment here momentarily, but welcome in. Good to have you with us.
Glad to be there, and you wrestled that one down, nailed it. And Palmetto, that Palmetto Amateur is just incredible. The golf course, it is my #1 golf course. I appreciate you bringing that out.
Love it.
We discussed it. We had lunch with George this past Thursday, and my goodness gracious, the Greek boys, they know how to do it. And George, we got to go ahead. The total strength and speed amateur spotlight. Well, George Savalas, he wins that.
Yeah.
He got a hole-in-one at Cobblestone. #4, ripped a 5-iron right in the cup. So way to go, George. And Phil, we had a little basketball talk. We can go wide and deep. And I do want to go ahead. I know we got a great bring me up to speed. You said there's an announcement, some kind of a recruiting. Are we talking football, baseball,
This
basketball?
is football. This is a big football stud from Alabama that Clemson is involved in. And I think, George, we're going to hold you right there because I think we're now reached the point where he's ready to make the announcement. Clemson, Alabama, Florida, Jackson State. Pat, let's go back to this is in Alabaster, Alabama at Thompson High School, a powerful high school football program. And this young man's supposed to be a special football player. So, Pat, let's go to it real quick, and we'll get back to George. If you guys don't mind, let these guys play through, and then we'll get back to you. We go back live to Alabaster.
With social media presence, everybody's out here. Everybody has a brand, right? And so he started his own P-Woo brand. Where can people go cop the merch if that's the case?
Pwoo11.com. Y'all go shop right now. Stop what you're doing. Get off the live feed right now.
Hey, I'm loving it. He's got bags. He's got cups. He's got shirts. Coach don't even have this stuff, man. So go check out Pwoo11.com. Right now, we want to bring in this family that's going to get to the commitment.
And hey, guys, how about this? I got a solution for us. I've got my AirPods in my left ear and my studio headphones on my right. I'll keep listening in to what's happening, and I'll pause the live stream, and that way we can cleanly go right to it when he makes his actual announcements. But hate to keep cutting in on you there, George.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's like letting those fast players play through, George. That's what we're trying to do. But Pat, I think we're getting ready to have it. He's got the family up there gathered around with him now. I think we're getting ready to get to the.
I promise you, I'm listening along. It might be a few more minutes.
Okay.
Just trust me, I got you covered.
All right, George, go ahead. Pick it up. We were talking about the Palmetto Am.
Yeah, and Palmetto's a golf course that is absolutely spectacular. Alistair McKenzie, Donald Ross, and Seth Rayner. I was at a Seth Rayner course playing with Rob. I got to welcome Rob in. He's got to jump in. He's an Alabama guy. I'm sure he's got his ears on for this great announcement. I don't keep up with football like I should, but this show is gonna deepen and widen my horizons when it comes to the whole field. I'll see the field, but this is a guy who sees the whole field. Welcome, Rob Thames. Good evening.
Yeah, this turned out to be quite interesting. In fact, did anybody write that website now?
PW11. But guys, we need to do this for golfers. We need to get golfers to the point where they have these big announcements about their commitments to schools and
absolutely
do it right here on Sports Talk on Birdies and Bogeys.
I'm absolutely 100% for that because it's become where it's it's the first stage of the rest of their professional career. If they have one that extends beyond this announcement, and this is big, and there's a ton of people that sign out of high school, male and female, to these college programs, and a lot of them go on to some great success. We've got people on tour, and they need that treatment. So I'm all for it.
Hey, well, let's go get them today, Rob. While we got Palmetto and that's the McKenzie course, I had the privilege of playing with Mike Ramsey and a brand new friend, Bud, down at Yeaman's Hall. Now, this is a Seth Rayner gym. Absolutely spectacular. And, Rob, I know you teed it up in Myrtle Beach, and I think you mentioned a blast from the past. Terry Johnson's wife, Tori, hosted you all at which golf course again?
Azalea Sands, and it was the place to go. Very friendly to play, and they were busy. I mean, they were cranking out the groups one after another. So you had to be on your game, just not to back up the course.
Well, I played today with Mike Ramsey. He will be on our show as one of our Tsunami Bar Sport golfers, and I just mentioned that our Amateur Spotlight was sponsored by Total Strength and Speed, and congratulations again to George Savalas. We had a great conversation with George, and he's in the gym frequently, and after that lunch at the Greek Boys, Phil, I know you were inspired to at least take a swing at that Tsunami Bar. Rob, talk just to give Phil a little bit from your standpoint. Why he could and should. How is that going to help Phil Kornblith?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a personal account that just happened at Azalea Sands. I've never been there. Get there. They don't have a driving range, so there's really no place for me to warm up. And I'm one of those. I'm 62 years old. My stuff don't work right out of the truck. I got to move around a little bit. So we get there. I asked about hitting some balls, and they've got a few nets just set up right outside that you can bang a couple of balls into the nets. So I went and got the 47 from heaven, the Tsunami Bar multi-stick, and I put myself and the two guys I was with through a little warm-up routine. And I don't know about them. I mean, they were a lot younger than I am, but that got me flowing to where I could pick up a club and within 10 balls. I really didn't know which way they were flying, hitting them into that net, but I was able to get to where I could, make a turn, make contact, and felt like I could go out there and possibly play a little bit. So, that warm up tool is awesome. I can't talk more about it. It's great.
Well, Phil, we talked. We're gonna be able to reference your progression on your website. Easily go to ours, the Tsunami Bar Sports website, and there's going to be a before and after, and the movement. What you're going to experience is greater turn, greater leverage, greater elasticity, and hey, your flow, your rhythm and tempo, along with flow, you're going to be amazed. You already are amazing, especially when we sit in this radio booth. You are just amazing. But when you get on that golf course, you're going to add yards and get that golf ball and the club to collide more in the center of that face. So, Phil, that'll be fun to do. And then, hey, I want to go ahead and we've got our Tsunami Bar Sports Youth and Junior Spotlight. Well, Golden Hills hosted the Tri-County chapter, and I want to recognize a few of our locals. I heard you mention Jonathan Bird and Lucas Glover. We were talking this way about those players over 25 years ago. Incidentally, I had a great conversation with Jay Bird last week, and he is in spectacular form. Be fun to watch him play great this weekend up in Lexington, Kentucky. Pearlie Chavis earned medalist honors in the girls 10 to 12. Caitlin Gaines, who has won constantly, she's won every week, was a low score in the girls 13 to 18. Cameron Cleveland was a medalist in the boys 15 to 18, while William Milliken won the boys 13-14. Trust Winters medaled in the boys 10 to 12, and these are the Tri-County chapter is a division of the SCJGA, and the Hootie and the Blowfish Summer Series has weekly one-day events, and they throughout the summer they play these one-day events, accumulate points, and at the end of the summer there'll be an all-star event. So we'll be following and tracking I love watching these players get started and then tracking their progress. As we've had several juniors. In fact, Rowan Sullivan, number one player on the boys' side, we had him on as a guest. We're going to try to find the girls' number one ranked player and invite her on to get her insight on golf. And so, hey, Phil, there you have it for the Tsunami Bar Sports Youth and Junior Spotlight. And where are we with that great announcement?
I have never, my 40 years of covering recruiting, more or less, I've never seen people go to such lengths to make an announcement. I mean,
well, I've got a little. Speaking of recruiting, while we were at Greek Boys, I was doing some recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
Met a brand new friend, and you're going to have to remind me or correct me, Carrie Rich.
Uh-huh.
And basketball player who is not playing golf yet. And we kicked around the idea of getting him to the golf course. Phil, I can't think of a better way to bring out the Tsunami Bar sport, the benefits. Rob mentioned warming up. Well, one of the things the Tsunami Bar technology does is make the game easier. It's a fun way to get blood flowing, to make that mind-body connection. But, you know, we were recruiting Carrie in to play some golf because, hey, golf just changes your life. It makes life more fun. As I was guest of David Whittington, he invited me to play Yeamans Hall, and there's where I then extended invite to Mike Ramsey and Bud. So we're out today I made a couple of new friends at Yeamans Hall. I think golf was invented for fellowship first, but then it draws those who like a challenge into the game. It seemed to me like Kerry Rich in his new position there at the University of South Carolina, he's going to be up for plenty of challenges, and the game of golf, I think it's quite deep. Your thoughts, Rob Thames?
Well, the game of golf is by far the greatest networking. I kind of refer to it as a tool, but it's a pastime, it's a hobby, it's a passion. It's a lot of things to a lot of people. But as far as meeting people, getting to know people that you don't know, that you might be paired up with on a course, learning from someone else that you've never even been around, but they're going to learn from you too. Golf is the ultimate networking tool as far as an athletic pastime that there is. There's just no question about it, in my opinion.
Guys, let me jump in real quick. Looks like we have the announcement. There's not going to be like an announcement. They did a video thing, and he did commit to Clemson. Peter Woods, 6'2", 265, Alabaster, Alabama, one of the top defensive line prospects in the nation for this class, via a video at his announcement, which was on YouTube. The video revealed it's Clemson. 92 tackles last season, 26 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, and I think he has probably about a 3 or 4 handicap based on everything else. If not, George,
you slipped that one in.
George, y'all can take him over and teach him the game of golf. Well,
I can tell you right now, the game of golf has a lot to teach us, everybody. And we went out today, and the from nowhere. You can hit the shot of your life, and on the next swing, as if you never even made one before, and it does not discriminate. It treats everybody the same. So nothing quite like it. There's nothing quite as exhilarating as catching one right in the center of that club face, watching it fly through the air. And there's probably very little as that is challenging where you go up to the next one, you think you got it, and my goodness, you can't even hardly hit the ground. And that's what happened to me a lot today, incidentally, man. I splatted that ground, but I did sneak back out. Don't tell anybody. But I had to sneak back out for 9 holes. The head pro felt so bad for me. Claude Bruce said, Georgie, how about won't you take this fast cart and see what you can figure out, because you need some help. And I did. I went back out, and I had a blast. I went back for an emergency 9. But y'all don't tell anybody I did that. I had the course to myself. Y'all aren't tracking with me on that one. I appreciate it, man.
No, it's all good. That's the way it should be. I mean, you get a chance to go back and get a 9 more, little bonus action. I'm all for it.
Hey, and when I went out by myself, I didn't hardly miss a shot. I didn't shoot too good a score, but I didn't hardly miss a shot. And now we played a little skins game today, and maybe the fact that I gripped a little tighter caused me a little tension, and the guys just wore me out. They skins game. That's what's kind of cool. We were supposed to have 4. One guy went down with a back injury, and so we had to change the team format. We actually went individual, but there is, once the ball's in play in a skins format with 3 players, you do have a partner because it's a 2-tie, all-tie.
My phone was working today, George. It was working.
We didn't know
I checked it. I checked it to make sure it was taking incoming calls from golf courses.
It was a game time. His back went out. Phil, you remember? Well, actually, I don't know if you've ever had your back go out at the last minute, but he couldn't go, and it was disappointing for him not to play. But we could figure it out with 3, and so that's what's cool about golf. You can play by yourself. Best part is playing with 2, 3, 4. Some places allow 5. The wolf game is one that's a lot of fun. Rabbit. Then there's skins. The skins game that we played today, 2-tie, all-tie. But the one who has the lowest score alone, well, they win the marbles. And we were playing for, I'd say, just slightly right of marbles. It was a little flatter and then more like paper. And I was the one that took paper out of my back pocket and gave them paper. And it was substantial enough to buy lunch. So it was a lot of fun though. Yeamans Hall is quite the venue. Nothing. Well, there is one more. Country Club of Charleston. What a beautiful course that is too. Lots of others, but hey, Palmetto, I appreciate Phil you bringing back up. Why don't you mention that? Who's leading especially the person who is in second place? I want you to go over that name again. You ripped it before.
Okay, well, Brantley Baker and Alex Goff are tied at 8 under par. Let's see, Baker went low today. He shot 65. Oh, and so did Goff. They both shot 65. Then in third, we have Rachanapong Yaprayong.
Isn't that beautiful?
Rachanapong Yaprayong. Something like that.
Well, and that golf course is absolutely beautiful. It attracts tour players. For example, I lost count. I was trying to figure it out the other day, but Kevin Kisner he's been playing out of there for years. Scott Brown, I think. I think you covered his name. I'm not sure I can't remember where he was on the leaderboard, but let's see. Matt Naismith. Naismith plays out of Palmetto as well, and I know I'm leaving out several other tour players. And I'm Rob. I want you to help me close this one out. Phil saying that Phil just gave me my. We're playing our last shot on number 18. All right. I want want you to close us out. Just give us one idea. We're going to play some golf this weekend. Tell us how we need to prepare, especially nutrition-wise. What do we need to have in our fuel tank so we have plenty of energy to play golf?
Well, you definitely need to stay hydrated. That heat is out there, so that big light bulb in the sky is just beaming on down. It's going to dehydrate you, so take plenty of liquids. Water is always my favorite, but anything with electrolytes in it is going to help you out. Have some food in you before you get started, and you can go as cheap as PB&J, or you can take some high dollar little snacks that cost a whole lot of money and say they do a bunch of good things to your body, but it really just comes down to having some complex carbohydrates, some fast burning, a little bit of sugar in you. You're going to need a little bit of that, and those proteins that are going to break down and last over time. So if you've got that, easy to carry, put it in your bag. If you need to keep it cool, bring you a little cooler, and you're ready to go.
Hey, that's awesome. Thank you, Rob Thames. Also, congratulations once again to George Savalas on that perfect shot. Number 4 at Cobblestone, ripped the 5-iron right in the cup.
I can't believe
Hey,
George
Phil.
had a hole-in-one before I did. Something's not right.
Hey,
He's a better golfer,
stay
Phil.
at it. Never give up. Never give up. Hey, and until next week, for Rob, this is George. See him high, shoot him low.
And Peter Wood says thank you for letting him play through. And remember, you two guys, go order your Peter Woods T-shirts today now. PWoo 11.
All right.
I have never seen a high school kid as marketed. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
See you. Appreciate you. All right. There you go. That was some segment of Birdies and Bogeys and Peter Woods. So Peter Woods commits to Clemson. I've seen a lot of announcement deals before, and this was about the most manufactured what's the word I'm looking for?
Circus.
No,
Circus
I'm
comes to
trying to
mind.
think of what's golly, I'm drawing a blank. Not publicized. What's the word?
Promotional.
Promotion. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you got his website, you got the coaches,
doubt.
you got
No
his
doubt.
website, coach's website, merchandise, the whole thing. But you know what? What does Clemson care? At the end of the day, they think they got a really good football player.
Seems like he is a very good football player. And welcome to the brand new world of NIL, Phil, because Peter Woods would not be the last doing that.
Seems like he's jumped well into that. Okay.
No doubt.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Have a great weekend. Thank you,
sir.
Pat. Have a great
You too.
weekend. Everybody have a great weekend and a great week next week. The guys will be with you all week next week, and they'll have great shows. Thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.